Hi. Well, welcome guys. I'm gonna give you 5 Netflix recommendations to watch, which I think are slightly underrated if you haven't watched them. But I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinions. This is my opinions. You can disagree, comment down below what you think. But these are, I think, some underrated shows that I think everybody could watch. Let's get started. Alright, one of my recommendations is, in no particular order, starts off with Lucifer. And obviously, this show is not for everyone because it incorporates a lot of ideas from the Bible. But I think if you think about it as, it's just another fictional character like a superhero, because the character was made by DC Comics. If you think about it in that way, then it's a very creative show. If you think about like how Marvel is adopting comic book characters, and you think about how in this show they're adopting characters from the Bible, then it's a very unique show. Also, I think it's a very chill show. It's a cop and crime show, like, NCIS, Law and Order, stuff like that, except way toned down. It has very organic jokes, and a lot of the actors have organic chemistry. And I mean, this show was super popular during the first season, then slowly the ratings started going down, and Fox dropped it, and Netflix recently picked it up. It has 2 more. There was 2 more seasons coming. Technically, I think they're both part 1 and part 2, and part 1 just dropped, so there's 1 more season after this. So, great time to start watching it. And yeah, it's a very creative show. I think everybody should give it a try. And I mean, there's only one more thing to say. Tom Ellis, oh my god, everybody's into him. I mean, what's not to be into? But yeah, if you follow all the background and what was going on with the show at the time, you can see all the actors involved really passionate about the show, and it comes through. So give it a watch. It's another, in my opinion, very casual show for casual viewings, just when you want to sit back, put something on that you don't really want to think too deeply about. The Order. And I'm going to start noticing a theme where all of these are either sci-fi, but mostly fantasy. So The Order is about this kid who's going to college to track down a secret society, which turns out to be a secret society of magicians all over the world, where a lot of very famous and successful people joined, and with the magic they learned, they use it to become successful. But then, a little bit of a spoiler, but not really, because it happens early on. But then there's a group of werewolves he discovers that is fighting against him, trying to take them down. And it's just him, in the story. The first season is about him tracking down his father because his grandpa told him that it was his fault that his mother ended up, dying, so he's out for revenge. And honestly, the acting falls short sometimes, but the characters are just they're great. The story's really amazing, and for all the faults there is and where the show sometimes falls short, that more than makes up for it. Like I said, it's a very good show to just view casually, chill out, not have to think about it all that hard. But great story, great characters, and I think you'll enjoy. Alright, next. Ooh, this is one of my favorites, The Magicians. And I think it's very underrated. It comes from Sci-Fi, you know, the channel that makes all those, that airs and makes all those super cringy movies like Sharknado. I mean, I shouldn't say they're cringy, but you know, it has their own appeal to them. Anyways, this show is based off a book, and before, you know, I have to say the book was better, not gonna lie, but I listened to the audiobook version of the story, and I have to say the show is different. Like, towards the end it gets vastly different from the book, that it kind of becomes its own story, and the characters have their own sort of arc. So I really enjoy that. And also, one of my biggest problems with shows, especially like CW shows, is after a while, I don't know, the quality just goes down. Like, it feels like they're starting to grasp at straws for stories, and I always have like a 20-25 episode seasons, and I feel like they exhaust so much of like the potential in stories that they could have done better, because that's how they format it. Every year, every season, they have to make 20 stories, 20 episodes, and one big arching story. And this show doesn't fall from that, because it's actually done. 5 seasons total, great for binging, and they just take a very creative approach. It's basically follows the story of Quentin Coldwater, a guy who doesn't feel like he belongs anywhere, and then he figures out it's because he just hasn't found it. He gets accepted to a college of magic, and that's where like he always wanted to be. He believed in magic. There's a kind of Harry Potter replacement called Fillory and Beyond, basically like the Harry Potter books of our world. And then he discovers that magic's real. Then he's like, oh, those stories could be real. And then they just goes on an adventure discovering the world of magic. And yeah, in the first episode, he encounters someone called the Beast, and that's basically like where the adventure starts. I think it's a very good show to get invested on. You know, it's gonna take a while to finish, but I think having watched every season, I think it's well worth it. Very creative show. Like, they implement ideas like different from the books that are so creative. I don't know where it comes from. But anyways, this is like definitely one of my top 5 shows, easily to recommend. Like, I love this show. Next is Altered Carbon. I have very mixed feelings about this show. Love season 1, season 2. I was disappointed in it, but you know, that's my opinion. I still think it's a great show. Season 1 made that show. Even though it had 1 season, it easily wasn't like my favorite show on Netflix. I wanted everybody to watch it. And it just follows the story of, I think I'm gonna butcher the name, Takashi Kovacs. Basically, in this world, you can download your self-conscious into like a metal thing that they implant in the back of your neck when you're young, so that when you die, or when your body, or as they call it, your sleeve gets destroyed, you can just like pop it out of your neck and then put in another body. So that way you can essentially live forever, or you can literally become anyone or anything. And I think like they take that concept into a very creative like sci-fi universe, and it's like the aesthetic has been compared to Blade Runner, which I agree after seeing that movie. Very like dystopian kind of, with like the super duper rich versus the everyday people, with the people who've been living forever, affording luxuries and like basically having so much accumulated wealth and power that they can literally do whatever they want with little to no consequences. And we get to see it all through the eyes of the main character, Takashi Kovacs, who's just thrust back into the world after getting arrested for helping like a terrorist uprising. And so you get to like see his story, his background, while exploring the world from like his eyes and stuff. Very great story. And I have to say it again, the book was better. Honestly, one of my main issues with season 2 is probably that I read the books, because in season 2 they took like 2 ideas from the last 2 books that came out and it combined them. And I just feel like that was such a waste of potential, because they could have made 2 independent seasons with that idea. But anyways, that's on me. You might enjoy season 2 better than I did, but another issue was that the actor in the second season kind of felt a little too plain. Like the first actor, he was amazing. Like he felt like he was the character. I don't think if the actor doesn't act like that in real life, like that's not his actual personality, I have no idea how he did it. But anyways, the second actor was just, it felt plain. They basically played the same character, since body switching. The second actor, he was just a little plain. He could have portrayed like a little bit more emotion, I think. He wasn't bad. He just didn't do anything that didn't feel as impactful. But first season easily became my favorite show on Netflix, so even if you just watch the first season, I think the show is absolutely worth it. Last show. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit of a weeb, and Netflix is not my destination for it to scratch the itch. But they do have a couple of good ones. I haven't watched all of them, but one of the best one in my opinion, is definitely Hunter x Hunter. If you don't like anime or Japanese stuff, it's not for everybody, but if you don't mind it, or if you're into it and you haven't watched this, highly recommend. Like the story, the characters, their personality, is amazing and super creative. There's this stereotypical shonen protagonist. He's overpowered. He, doesn't get hurt, or when he gets hurt, he gets right back up, or is powered through. But this show is it's basically the same thing, but they do it in a way that's just different enough. The protagonist, he powers through, he doesn't give up, he has a stereotypical motivation, but it doesn't take away from the fact that he worked hard to get where he is. I don't know, it's hard to put in words until you actually see it, but also in that world, there's this, in typical anime, most actions and most choices don't really have lasting impact and stuff, but in this, it might look like a friendly show, but things get real quick. It goes from 0 to 100, and I like that. It has a nice balance of the feel good slice of life action to the typical gritty shonen fight sequences and stuff like that. It just blends it so easily. It's hard to explain the concept in words. Basically an explorer type of show where one kid wants to become on the name Hunter, and with that he can literally go anywhere in the world. But his goal is to find his dad, who left him when he was super young, you know, and his dad was a hunter, and his whole journey is just looking for him. Get it? Hunter x Hunter. But anyways, you meet a bunch of interesting characters and stuff like that. I don't know. I think you just have to watch it to really understand it. And also, like, it's not a underground anime really, but I think it's lesser known to Netflix watchers. If you want to get into anime and stuff, there's like starter ones that people recommend, and this is one I would recommend. I mean, there's some stuff you're not gonna like, there's some stuff you are gonna like, and it doesn't rely on fan service, you know. It's one of those anime that doesn't use that as a trope, really. It's not like trope as in cliche, doesn't have too many cliches in it, and it's just a very creative world that you just have to watch to understand and explore it along with the character. Also, the power system, when like gets a little bit until later, but when you get to it, it's so good. It like makes some very creative fight scenes. There's a lot of creative powers. You just have to watch it to really get into it. So, got the chance to sit down, which literally everybody does right now. I just say put it on your list, back burner, watch it. If you don't like it, it's only 3 seasons on Netflix. If you do, you can watch all the rest of the seasons on either Crunchyroll or Viz. And for Crunchyroll, I'm not gonna say it, but like, you know what to do. But or you can watch it Viz, watch a couple ads, all for free. And yeah, that's it. And you know, got time, sit down, enjoy yourself, watch these shows. Let me know which ones you already watch. If you have them, let me know which ones you don't really like. Comment down below.